It's your boy Smart. You here with Mikey T, the movie star. Shout out to my boy Mikey T, the legend. Listen, man. Shout out to my boy Mikey T, man. The movie star. Listen, Joe Rogan, you got company. I'm telling we speaking that. I'm telling you, Mikey, listen.
Smart, I appreciate you talking to me for an episode of my podcast, man. I want to welcome you to the show, man.
Oh man, I appreciate you, man. I'm so happy to be here. I've been watching you for a long time. Big fan of yours. I saw the stuff you did with Bangles Smurf. I seen the stuff with Dark Low and everybody. You switched your channel though, right? Like you used to have like this kind of like this. Was that you? Like you had like the intro was like a red carpet kind of a thing. All right, cool. All right, yeah. I've been watching your content for a long time, man. You've been in the game for a minute, and I definitely wanted to just salute you, and it's very refreshing to speak to someone who is from a different ethnicity, right? Like, and for you not to be a culture vulture, right? Like in the hood, we would call you white chocolate, right? You're authentic, man, and I respect your approach, and man, you're gonna be a big deal, man. I foresee Joe Rogan level success for you, man.
I really appreciate that. I definitely appreciate that, Smart. You know what I mean? But I could go somewhere totally else with that, but I want to keep it focused on you, bro.
I got you.
I really appreciate the flowers, though. You know what I mean? That shit means a lot to me.
Yeah, we gotta listen. We gotta listen, man. You know, acknowledgement is important, right? Especially in this time, right? And I'm not. I don't have no ego, right? Like, I feel like it's 10M versus 10K, right? Like M standing for minute, K for 1,000, right? Like it's 10 minutes versus 10,000 hours. It's a lot of 10-minute motherfuckers right now getting flowers, and the 10,000 hour motherfuckers are getting overlooked. You put your 10,000 hours in, and that's 10 plus years of just being in this culture of true, hip hop, entertainment, media, whatever you want to call it, Mikey. So I definitely respect that.
Yeah, and that's why I'm glad I get to have this conversation with you, man. I want you to tell us a little bit about yourself, because some of my audience might not know about who you are. And, I want you to explain that, just explain everything exactly, where you're from and where you grew up.
Well, I'm from my mama, 25 Overy Lane. Originally, we had a flood. I had to move out, relocated to Harlem. And, man, it was tough, right? Because, I didn't have a father in the home. My mother got addicted to drugs. She was abusive. We was in and out of the shelters, and I spent my early childhood like just predominantly in the system. So it was really, really tough growing up, and I had to learn how to hustle early, right? Like my first hustle was like swiping Metro cards, and trying to swipe people on the train by bending the Metro card and then using that money to buy food, because man, the shelter food wasn't it, right? And it was so crazy because my mother, man, she was doing heavy drugs, and I remember like her just being like leaving me in all these apartments with all these weird, creepy people, and like I would see them like it was crack, right? But as a kid, I just thought it was like a magic piece of candy, right? Like everybody just wanted, right? And I didn't know what it was, but I knew it had a value because I could see how people treated it, and it was some residue left on the floor. So, I picked it up and I left out the house and went to the corner store and gave it to the guy in the corner store and tried to get a sandwich for some crack. You know what I mean? And obviously, they freaked out, kicked me out of the store, called police on me. Child services came, and it was just crazy, man. I just remember having to really, really just hustle, and my whole life has been just self-reliance and hustle, 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 hustle. Then I started doing music, and it man, got a couple record deals, and it was an eye-opening experience. And now that I look back with what I know now, I made it out unscathed, right? Like, I did a Math Hoffa interview, and he was trying to pull teeth and get me to really drop the T, man. But I'm keeping Pandora's box closed, right? And as a signed artist at the time, man, I just seen the dirty side to the business, right? Like how people compromise for money, gay for pay is what they call it. The witchcraft, the Illuminati, all that shit is fucking real, bro. It's extremely real. And I also like even the vampire aspect of like a major artist with a buzz, basically stealing the whole life force of an artist that is signed but has so much talent but is not on the forefront of marketability for the label, right? I experienced that too, and for me to have inspired records that ended up on J. Cole's album, for me to inspire like, French Montana and all these other people and not get credit for it, or be called a clout chaser. That's their, when they rob you of ideas and intellectual property, they say you clout chasing. I ain't clout chasing. When you get signed, everybody gets beats from like the same producers. So I could be in the studio with a producer and he made a beat because he fuck with me. He fuck with my talent. He made a beat for me. I record on the beat. 2 months later, that same song, concept, beat, melody, BPM, whatever you want to call it, is on G-Eazy's album. Now, either G-Eazy might have known or not, but the producer presents it as a skeleton, as an idea, but it really wasn't an idea. It was an actual finished product. You understand? So, it's a lot of fake fucking executive producers and writers, and it's just fucked up. It's just fucked up. And I don't know if DJ Khaled is guilty of this, but it kind of makes sense, right? Like, you're like, how's this guy having all these hit records? Well, there's artists that you never heard. They do a reference track, and that reference track really wasn't a reference. It was their demo, but it got turned into a reference track, right? And it happened to me. And then you hear your whole fucking song on another dude's album, and you like, yo, what the fuck? Hell no. And it's really nothing you could do if outside of violence, because you don't have a lawyer. Your lawyer is the label's lawyer, so that's conflict of interest. It's like you're a chicken trying to get the wolf in trouble with another wolf. So man, I just was, I had a horrible experience, and then I ended up getting dropped from the label, and because I wasn't willing to sell my soul, do bad business or do anything homosexual, I ain't with none of that shit, bro. And I realized like this game is not made for real people, and so I've been doing it on my own. 700,000+ copies of my mixtape sold in the street later. I'm taking my career finally by the reins, and I'm just in a very, very good space right now, so that's where I'm at right now.
So who are some of the artists that you thought were talented growing up?
Well, my biggest inspiration was Tupac, right? Like my biggest inspiration was Tupac. So definitely Tupac, definitely Biggie, definitely so Biggie, Tupac, DMX, Cannabis. Like as a kid, like growing up, like okay, these guys was it. You know what I'm saying? Lloyd Banks, Cassidy, Stack Bundles was amazing.
Yep. So would you say that's pretty much like your top 5 right there, or would you rather break down a different top 5?
My top. See, well, my qualifications for top 5, encompasses not just the studio, right? Not just being in the booth. It also has a lot to do with like who you are as a person and your character. So it's kind of tough for me to have a top 5. You know, it's very tough, man. And it's like, I love Pac, I respect Pac, but I never would have been in the tub naked with the chains on. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't have done that, right? Like I wouldn't have, you know, that was a very freaky sexual kind of a picture. And, you know, I wouldn't have done that, right? I love Biggie Smalls. Biggie Smalls is phenomenal. But when he said, "You look so good, I want to suck on your daddy's dick." So like, wait, like, hold on. You just said you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of, you know what I mean? It's kind of heavy. You know what I'm saying? Like, wait a minute. You know, and fuck that shit, man. You know what I'm saying?
DMX.
Yeah, I was just thinking X, right? And you know, so crazy, right?
You love
X
that.
is my X might be like I gotta it's yeah, you know what I mean? Like X is crazy, smokes crack, but he's super loyal. You know, super, he was super loyal to the Rough Riders imprint, and you know, X. I would have to put X in that spot. Now he has a lot of flaws, but he has, in my perspective, in my opinion, he has less flaws than the other guys that I respect their lyrical capabilities.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how you point that out about those artists. Who else will we go in on that list? I mean, you got 50 Cent. You know, he's a survivor. 50's a survivor. You know what I mean? You got
Yeah.
Eminem. You know what I mean? Eminem.
You know, Eminem, I can't, you know, so Eminem, right? Only thing problem I have with Eminem is all the signs and symbols, right? Like the horns and all that shit. So I definitely take him off because, you know, I'm Muslim, right? So I believe in God, I believe in Allah. So I can't, you know, Eminem is like Eminem, you know, he put on a lot of black people. So in that regard, it's like, yeah, but then in another regard, you have an album cover with devil horns, right? Like you talk about selling your soul and you talk about all these things. So I'm gonna kind of take you off my list just because of that. Secondly, Eminem never gave Big Pun credit for the inspirational impact he had on him. I hear a lot of inspiration that Big Pun inspired Eminem, and he never you know kind of mentioned that. So you know I'm taking him off that. I'm taking him off that predominantly because of all the devil weirdo shit. Cannabis can't pick beats. You know, like Cannabis was like phenomenal, but I never heard a song and a record from Cannabis that I respected. So it was just like, and your beats was like whack as fuck. So, you know, Lloyd Banks, I never like Banks don't know how to make an album. Just my opinion. Like, and these are guys who I feel are phenomenal artists. But I'm just like super like abstract with my critiquing of motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So while we're right there, could I ask your opinion on 50 Cent calling Lloyd Banks lazy? You mentioned he never had a dope album. He had Hunger for More, 400,000 plus sales first week. Followed it up with Rotten Apple, HFM2.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to let you speak on that for a second. 50 Cent calling Lloyd Banks lazy.
Well, see, the thing about it is that's tough, right? Because, you know, man, and I'm a lot more closer than most people realize, right, in this situation. But 50, you gotta remember, 50 crippled Banks' ability to collaborate, right? And he also enabled them, right? Did everything. And Banks was so loyal to 50. You got to think about it. On those albums, what features did Banks have? Banks couldn't even fucking collaborate with anybody because 50's and rightfully so, right? But 50's gripe with the industry spilled over into, you know, Banks' career. You know? So who knows where Banks would have been if he would have been able to have more features and different collaborations and stuff like that. Banks missed out on a huge opportunity to collaborate. Also, 50 is a micromanager, especially not now, but like in the beginning, he did everything. The marketing ideas, the strategies. You know, he was the spearhead. And I don't think Banks had an opportunity to have his own individual team of people around him growing his brand. And 50's the type of guy who his presence could pull rank, right? Like 50's presence, he could walk in the room and make Banks feel like he's his little brother, his little son. And I don't think 50 did a good job of surrounding Banks with his own independent team early when he wanted to, when he really cared, and Banks was loyal. So it's tough. I also think Banks is lazy, but he got a laid back personality. So it's a thin line between Banks. Like Banks is quiet as fuck. He won't even, like, he'll be in a room and you won't even notice. You won't even notice he there. You know, he's humble, but he might be a little lazy.
Well, when you're talking about the features, I do want to point out that he had all of those guys that were affiliated with Interscope, from Snoop Dogg to Nate Dogg to The Game, and then the core G Unit members, Young Buck, Tony Yayo, Who Kid, Eminem as well.
Right, but you got to remember, you talking about people like right now, like Banks is from New York, right? So yeah, you got access to all them Interscope artists, but Snoop is older, right? And Snoop is Snoop. Can't discredit him. Game is game, right? But we wanted to hear Lloyd Banks with Joel Santana. We wanted to hear Lloyd Banks with Cassidy. We wanted to hear Lloyd Banks with, at the time, Joe Buttons. We wanted to hear Lloyd Banks with Fab. You know what I'm saying? We wanted to hear Lloyd Banks with what's boy name? Damn, he didn't. I can't even fucking. It was a singer that damn, who was that singer back in the day in New York? It was a motherfucker that was on every hook. I can't remember his fucking name, but we wanted to hear Banks for him. You know what I'm saying? And it just never happened. You know? And remember, time waits for no man. You got to cook when the oven is on. So if you ain't cooking when the oven is on, and then you got to think, there was no, Banks never had no products. You know, 50. And then again, it's just like 50, he's very condescending at times. So whatever he does for you, he shouldn't, I don't think 50 should have verbalized or went public with his disagreements with Banks and everybody not wearing the sneakers and saying I'm God. 50 got a complex about him. It's justified because he had it hard growing up, especially in music. But to answer your question, I think Banks is a little bit lazy. I think Banks kind of missed his time. Not saying that he's still not a phenomenal artist. He definitely has a fan base, but I think he missed his time. And if I could give any criticism, I would love to see Banks start layering his music again. Like he's I don't know if he's in a different studio, different engineers. He's not recording his music the same, so his voice sounds a little more watered down. Like Banks need more layers, and he needs to go back to having punchlines and stuff like that. I don't, and I've watched his latest videos, and you know what I mean. Like my boy Will C shots videos and shit, but it just doesn't hit the same as it did early G Unit days.
When you mentioned the "I'm like God to you," that was actually 50 Cent to Bang 'Em Smurf.
No. That's what if you think 50, that's the only person 50 said that to, you gotta be crazy. You know what I'm saying? So again, like I'm not the person to dig up, like, again, like for me, all I'm saying, like, I'm not into like, because I'd be looking for clout, right? Like dry snitching and dropping tea, but that wasn't the only person 50 said that to, right? Yeah.
In regard to that, I mean, before we pass on, I didn't have it written down in the interview, but is there anything that you could say about the 50 Cent and Bang 'Em Smurf beef?
I'll give my opinion on it. I think And shout out to Bangham. Bangham is super loyal. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, Bangham Smurf was super, super loyal. And he was on the front line for a lot of different things. So, and just in my opinion, I feel like, you know, Fifth could have did a better job of communicating the transition from like streets to corporate, right? Like 50 is like 50 is the type of person to always learn new information, studying, learning, asking questions, getting with people. And a lot of times you can outgrow your crew, even though that crew had a huge influence on your success, right? So if you take away Tony Yayo, you don't get rich without trying. If you take away Lloyd Banks, you don't have G Unit. If you take away Bangham Smurf and that impact they had at that time in Queens and just those gritty, young, reckless motherfuckers ready to dumb out. Rest in peace, Maserati Fox too. But you know, then you don't have it changes things, right? You know, I just wish 50 did a better job thinking for the people around him that he knew needed to be thought for.
So getting back into it, can you explain to me, how did you get your start in the game? Were you on the mixtape scene or was it the battle rap scene?
No, I mean, I was just on the scene in period. Like, I was just moving around. You know what I mean? I was trying to figure out everything. You know, I was battling at a spot in Brooklyn called what the fuck that shit was called? The 5 spot. My motherfucking aunt's neighbor in Staten Island was fucking you know, related to track masters, and I'm banging out tracks with him, going to the studio, writing for artists, sign artists. I mean, you name it. I was just in the mix. You know what I'm saying? I was just in the mix any way I could be, you know? Yeah. Shout out to rest in peace, Lord Superb, because that was my bunkie up north, and that was my man out of Far Rock. And I was just, you know, just moving around and just like anyway, I was trying to make it. So whatever I thought would help me make it, I was with it. As long as my principles were intact. So like doing mixtapes, handing out CDs, handing out flyers. You know, if I needed to carry a gun for somebody, whatever, like I just wanted to be in the music. You know what I mean?
So what was your first battle? Could you also name some of your other battles that you had, like from wherever, really?
Yeah, I had mad. Listen, I ain't gonna front. Like, well, it's public. I was gonna say between me and you, like we on the phone, but we ain't on the phone. You know what I'm saying? But I had mad battles that wasn't recorded, neither. You know, shit, man. I battled Cassidy. I battled a kid named what's his motherfucking name? XV or LV. I battled fucking King Los over the phone. I had a lot of battles, bro. But it wasn't like that, like a battle setup really wasn't like a thing. I had a lot of battles, Times Square, like Times Square was like the thing, right? Like you go to Times Square and it just everybody be rapping outside of like Daddy's house, Bad Boy Studios and shit like that. And then we'd be rapping in a cypher, and then before you know, we just battling each other. So yeah, man, I had a lot of battles off camera. And then the battle I had, because I know you was telling me about like Sin. Yo, man, that Sin shit was a fix, man. That Sin City shit was a fix. Yo, look, so at the time, I'm living in Vegas, right? So my man hit me like, yo, bro, you want to do a battle? I'm like, yeah, bet. So the guy that I'm supposed to do the battle with, 4 days before, 4 days before we supposed to battle, they switched the opponent.
Okay, so that's why you didn't write.
They switched the opponent. I couldn't write. They switched the opponent and then said, nah. So now I'm getting ready for this guy. Then they switched the opponent again. I said, man, fuck. All right. I said, fuck this shit. And I think they switched the opponent because the conversation I had. I said, listen, you don't touch me and don't say suck my dick. You say suck my dick, the battle's over. I'm going in your mouth. You take it how you take it, whatever. And I was very adamant about that. And shout out to Sin City because he respected that. And I said, listen, I'm not gonna, if you got something that you won't want me to say, and I think he said don't say something about his kids, but if I said, all right, bet, heard you. And it was a mutual respect. And I think the other guy, I'm not a little guy, Mikey, right? So I think the other guy was like, nah, this might go left. So he kind of like pulled out. And then when I battled Sin, I was freestyling, trying to put together some pieces. I don't know. What was your take? What was your take on the battle?
Well, in all honesty, man, I would give you the first 2 rounds. You know what I mean? I saw a lot of people in the comments were saying 3-0, and I was like, and a lot of people were saying this is arguably 2-1, but they were like Smart gave away the 3rd round. So I'm like, what are they talking about? Smart gave away the 3rd round. So I go into I finally get to the 3rd round, and I realized you didn't really rap in the 3rd round. So that's the only reason that you gave.
They switched the beat. Round. Listen, then they switched the beat. The beat they was on some bullshit because they gave us the beats. So that platform, they give you the beats before the battle, right?
Okay.
So you know what beats you rapping on. So I had 3 beats. They played the same 2 beats, but the last beat they switched out.
Yeah, that last beat would have been dope to hear you rap on, to be honest with you. But I mean, and some other things I noticed about Sin in the battle was like, wasn't there one part where you were rapping and he was like, facts?
Yeah.
He caught himself. But so what was a battle that you lost where you were like, yo, I gotta step my game up? This dude just killed me. Did you ever have that Freeway moment? You know what I mean? Like put a beat on. And shout out to Philadelphia Freeway too. That's my guy. You know what I mean? But everyone saw Freeway versus Cassidy.
Nah, listen, I ain't gonna hold you. This it was a guy from, shout out to Marcy Projects. It was a guy from Marcy. His name is Corey, and his rap, I think he changed his rap name. His rap name was at the time Fresh. So I battled. It was 2 times. And it's so crazy, right? I was gonna sign to Memphis Bleak, and I got cooked.
Warehouse or Get Low?
Get Low. Get Low. They had just signed. Look, listen. They had signed a kid named Calico from he was from I think Bushwick Project. So it was G2K, Calico, my man Sean and Don, and they had these dope ass fucking varsity Get Low jackets. You know what I'm saying? And so I battled like 5 guys. I smoked them. Then I had battled G2K, and shout out to G2K. He probably don't remember this shit. We was in his hallway. It was me, G2K, his brother Lip. He got his brother. When I say I got cooked, G2K smoked me. That was some shit where it was like okay, I gotta. And like a week later, I'm chilling in the crib with G2K, and he's smoking. He got his S-Dot sneakers and all that, and he got a plaque, right? He got a Rockefeller plaque. He had one of Bleak plaques on his wall, right? When I say, Mikey, G2K must have had at least, from my eye, 200 rhyme books, like stacked on his dresser, full of just rhymes. I'm talking about, and I know for a fact, I can't prove it, but I know for a fact that either he was ghostwriting for Bleak or something. I don't know. But G2K was really like, he let me know like this music shit is real. Like you gotta really, dedicate, and from then I stepped my pen game up because of G2K. So shout out to G2K.